We've teamed up with the good folks at Zombicide on the Zombicide Invader Paint Set. This new expansion in the Zombicide universe takes the trademark Zombicide action into the far reaches of outer space. Now, they've sent me a fantastically sculpted Xeno Tank model, and I can't wait to get some paint on it. So let's get right to it. The paints you're going to need for this tutorial are Color Primer Wolf Gray, Zombicide Xenos Carapace, Armor Gray, Pale Skin, Tentacle Red, Gun Black, Abomination White, and Invader Shader. From our Warpaints range, we'll be using Crusted Sore, Tanned Flesh, Barbarian Flesh, Wolf Gray, QUICKSHADE Red Tone, Flesh Wash, Gloss Varnish, and finally QUICKSHADE Mixing Medium. It's good to know that there are 24 colors in the Color Primer range to help you save time at the hobby desk and get you more time for gaming. We're going for a bluish gray skin tone here with some elements of some flesh tones to add some realism to this very, very cool, very unreal model. After giving the model a wash in warm soapy water, we prime the model with Color Primer Wolf Gray. Using a small dry brush, we're going to begin working in some of the Xenos Carapace all over the model. Now we're going to be working in circular motions. The goal here is to feather the Xenos Carapace subtly over the Wolf Gray. Continuing on with this small dry brush, we're going to apply a light coat of Armor Gray in a similar manner as the previous step, but this time we're going to focus on the center of the chest, the face, the belly, and under the arms. With the armor coat complete, we're going to do a focus dry brush with Pale Skin in the very center of the chest, belly, and face. Finally, we're going to use Warpaints Wolf Gray, which is a 100% color match to our color primer of the same name. This time we're going to focus on the center of the back and the tops of the thighs to reinvigorate that base tone that we started with. With all of the skin tones now based in, we're going to add a wash to the model. Now the wash will help us to add some depth and realism to the model. For that, we're going to be using our QUICKSHADE Wash Mixing Medium and Invader Shader. The reason we're using a mix for this step is because we don't want to darken the model down too much, and the QUICKSHADE Wash Mixing Medium provides us a lot more control. Using a monster brush, simply cover all of the bits that you just painted, careful not to let the wash pool too much in any of the deep recesses. If it does, just be sure to move the wash around the model with your brush before it dries. Throughout this tutorial, I will be adding some highlights to the model. And if you're a beginning painter just getting started, or if you just want to get the models painted and on the table faster, you can totally skip these steps. But we've had a lot of viewers ask us for more advanced techniques, and we figured because this model is so detailed, this was the perfect opportunity to showcase some here today. You'll notice that the wash has darkened the model down a bit, so using the same colors as our previous step, we're going to highlight the most raised edges of the miniatures with our Wargamer detail brush. We'll use Wolf Gray to highlight the darker areas like the arms here, Armor Gray on the chest, arms, and face. Then we'll move on to picking out some of the striations of the pectoral muscles and the most raised areas like the eyebrows on the face and so on. With all of the skin now complete, we're going to paint in the sores and the feeder tendrils on the model. And for that, we're going to be using our Wargamer character brush. Now, the starter brush that comes in the Zombicide paint set will work just fine, but I wanted to use a slightly finer point for these areas on the model. After loading the brush with Crusted Sore from our Warpaints range, we'll begin painting all over the feeder tendrils like so. And we'll also block in the spinal organ and the sores. Then, using Tentacle Red, we'll add a rough highlight to the tendrils and then the spinal organ in the back. However, we're going to focus the Tentacle Red at the bottom and then feather it into the deeper red tone as we work our way up. If you need to, you can mix a bit of the Tentacle Red and Crusted Sore to make a more subtle transition. When we're done with that, we're going to go ahead and highlight all of the tiny little sores. Next, we're going to use QUICKSHADE Red Tone to add some depth to these areas, applying it all over to the areas we just painted. Careful not to get it on the blue, white, and gray areas of the skin. Using a 2-to-1 mix of Tentacle Red and Abomination White, we'll add a more focused highlight to those areas. We wouldn't be painting an infected alien invader unless it had some tentacles on it, so let's get right to it. We'll start by applying a base coat of tanned flesh to the tentacles. Then we'll loosely highlight all of the striations and ribs in the tentacles with Barbarian flesh. Next, we'll add a wash to the tentacles with QUICKSHADE Flesh Tone. And once the wash is dry, we'll re-establish the Barbarian flesh with a highlight. You can stop here if you want to, but if you'd like to take it one step further, you can add a more focused highlight with a mixture of Barbarian flesh and pale skin. Finally, we're going to add a focused wash of QUICKSHADE Red Tone to the areas where the tentacles are growing out of the body, like here. With the tentacles all finished up, we have one final step, and for this we're going to need gloss varnish and gun black. Now this step is totally optional, but when I paint alien models, I like to add some organic shapes to their skin tones and carapace. So with our detail brush, we'll begin blocking in all of the blacks around the spinal column. We'll begin this step by blocking in the areas around the spinal organ with gun black. Then using loose and rough motions, we're going to create spots that form and separate away from the spine, eventually resulting in tiny dots, as you can see here at the tops and bottoms of the shoulders. Finally, we're going to cover all of the black dots with a gloss varnish. This gives the model some textural variation, almost as if the spots are emitting a strange alien ooze. After painting in the base with black gun, we are all complete. Now you could go so far as to add some Battlefield's rocks or some extra texture and maybe even some flock, but this is going to be a nice simple way to get it on the table for your next Zombicide Invader game. If you'd like to get your hands on the Zombicide Invader Paint Set, be sure to ask your friendly local game store. Check it out at Amazon.com or anywhere else you fulfill your hobby product needs. Now, if you'd like to see more tutorials from the Army Painter or learn more about the Zombicide Invader Paint Set or any of the products that we offer, be sure to visit us at www.thearmypainter.com.